Well, Alain, thank you so much. I want to thank you for taking the time to really share your perspectives. As a global retailer, I think it's going to be super interesting for the people in the audience today to hear a little bit about your experiences, your perspectives. And I know that you've been a strong supporter in terms of the role an association like CICC plays for the industry. So I think we'll maybe start there and just hear directly from you what your thoughts are in terms of the value and the role of an association.
Very happy to be here today. It reminds me of my beginning when I started. I've always been involved with association, being here in Canada or being with NACS in the U.S. And we are part of NACS. Our CEO is on the board there. And without an association as a group, it would be quite difficult to resist, to provoke changes, and to have someone that represents all of us, because we are competitors, but we have to work together as an industry. So I've been involved from the beginning here in Quebec, obviously, and eventually in Canada, in the US, and all over the world. So the basic of winning in an industry is to have a strong association. So that's my belief.
Thank you for that, and we really appreciate your support. I think we'll start a little bit. I think one of the preoccupations for our industry is after over 2 years of dealing with a pandemic that impacted our businesses in so many ways. I think one of the preoccupations is, how many of these things are here to stay, and what might change once we sort of fully recover?
Actually, the changes we have seen in the last couple of years, unfortunately for some, are here to stay. Fortunately, too, for the evolution of the virtual work, I should say, I think I was surprised to see how productive we've been able to be working at distance. Our offices were empty, but we were still working.
Right.
And I think it's there to stay. Well, I don't think we will have all our people, office people, back in offices full time. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. And it's still a challenge, but we will see where we end up. Not this year. I think it will take a couple of years to adapt to that. On the stores itself, it's about labor. It's about our people, how good they've been during this pandemic. We've been lucky as an industry. We've been recognized as a type of stores that is a necessity, and we serve our customer at proximity. That's a definition of convenience, obviously. So with our people helping the customers, not just for the food, not just for the product we sell, for a lot of stuff. I have so many experiences that we have seen all over the world with our people helping. That proved to us that we are needed and we are there to stay. The other issue, as you know, is labor. We lost a lot of people with the pandemic. You have one contaminated employee, all of a sudden close contact. You have to test everybody. You close the store for 2 days, 3 days. You reopen, you clean everything.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow, it was a nightmare. We still have some stores that are not open for the night shift in some of our markets.
Because it's so hard to get staff.
We don't find people to work at night shifts. Right. But it's going down,
Right.
shrinking. I was in the U.S. 6 weeks ago, and it's heading in the right direction, in Canada too, but still a challenge.
Right, and I think one of the things we saw is just as you talked about how interconnected everything is. So obviously supply chain issues were an issue that was being felt, throughout didn't matter what industry you were in, but as essential retailers and that role we played in communities. And you talked a lot about, it was, I'm sure that you shared in that pride at CICC. We actually launched a sort of a special series of awards that we called our CICC Frontline Heroes. And that was really to recognize those people that, worked the long hours, that were there for their community, that were there to make sure that the single mother who needed milk at 11 o'clock at night was able to get that milk for the family. So I think that one of the things it really showed was the resilience, I think, of our industry. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
I think the industry reacted very well. I think the customer in general realized that we are needed. So
Right.
that's the needed. It's the
Exactly.
word I would use.
Yeah.
We are essential. I mean, we have been recognized, obviously, by all the government all around the world as essential. It's good and bad to be essential because it's been quite challenging too.
That's right. That's right. It comes with great expectations,
Yeah.
right? Our tagline during the pandemic, convenient in good times, essential in tough times. And I think that really kind of captures the nature of our industry and how we responded. But I want to talk a little bit about, as a global retailer, you see what works in different countries. So maybe talk a little bit about, what you think are some elements of success that are maybe transferable, depending with that global perspective.
Yeah, transferable is a good word, and transformation is even a bigger word. We have to transform ourselves as an industry. I think we stay the way we are, we would disappear. We have to adapt our product mix. We have to adapt to the millennials. The consumer are different, and they are asking for a different offer. So we are there to stay if we are able to adapt and transform.
Right.
So the trend are obviously still, and it's been there for a long time, food service. Food service, we have a program we call the 3F, FFF, fresh food, fresh food.
Fresh food fast.
Fresh food fast, sorry, fresh food fast, you know better. And it's quite performing. I mean, wow, I'm so happy with the results we're having, but it took so many years to get to that point. And if I look at Europe, they were there. I mean,
Right.
Europe were so good in food. Our sales per store there in food service ratio is 30, 35, 40% in food. While here in North America, it's more in the teen, 15, 20, 25, depending of the market.
Right.
We are weak in Canada. A lot of adjustment we need to be done, and we're starting to get better to here. But there is a lot more restaurant offer in Canada per population as there is in the US and Europe. So it's a different context, but we need to adapt here too.
Yeah, and I think, it's an excellent point. You talked about a little bit about millennials, and obviously as an industry, we always have to be, following what the trends are, looking at consumer behavior. And, I must say, as a non-millennial, it was remarkable to me as we saw a number of convenience store companies really betting on delivery. So how important do you think it is for companies like yours to make sure that that's part of their strategy going forward?
80% of what we sell is consumed in the hour. So it's quite convenient.
Right.
I'm not a strong believer in delivery for convenience. We are already convenient, but we're there. We're in that business. We're learning. We're testing. I was in Chicago a couple months ago visiting. We are partnering with others, and I stopped in an hotel with my team, And we started to order with the phone, order from GoPuff, from Vido, anyway, all these names that I don't remember. And we were receiving the bags with the food we ordered, some 15 minutes, some 30 minutes, 45 minutes, with the right product. The prices were quite different from one to another, always more expensive than the price you find in our stores. I'm not sure us as a convenience store, it's the future, part of the future, maybe some,
Right.
maybe in big city where you have a high concentration. That's what we do mainly. But in the suburb, in rural, I don't think this will fly, but it's my, I thought that Amazon will not make it when they started, so I can be wrong.
Very good. So I think one of the things, you talked a little bit about food service, and you talked about how that's much more sort of along the road, if you will, much more advanced in Europe, for example. Are there any other big areas where you would say that there's big differences between Canada and other parts of the world? One that comes to mind is, perhaps electrification, and that's obviously something that's on the minds of, many people in this audience, because of course it has a domino effect in terms of impact on our industry. When the price of gas is as high as it is, that leaves less money in people's pockets for, going into the convenience store after they fill up. So, now all the talk is, oh, everybody must, move to an electric car. But obviously that's not so easy either. And I think one of the things that we're seeing is that there's some real debate. Some people are saying, oh, it's a huge challenge for the convenience and gas industry. And others are saying, no, hang on a second, it's actually a big opportunity. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
It's both. It's a big challenge and a great opportunity too. Actually, we have the benefit of being in Norway. Norway is our laboratory. Today, 80% of the cars sold are full electric or hybrid.
Hybrid. Wow,
So
that's an impressive stat.
And it's been like that for the last 3 years. So in a number of years, there will not be many fuel cars in that country. And it's coming. There, actually, though, it's the big subsidies that exist that can support that. I was in Sweden last week, and in Sweden, they have a big demand for EV car too, but it's not as subsidized as it is in Norway. So it's more in the 10% of the EV that are sold in Sweden. So it's going to evolve. It will take time. And don't take me wrong, EV is there to stay.
Right.
And they will take market share every year and grow. So we are part of it or not. And we are.
Right.
We are investing massively in quick chargers in Europe, in North America, and we will start in Asia too. So, and actually it's evolving in the right direction. We were not making any money with this in Norway for many years. Now we make money. We charge for a charge.
Charge for a charge.
And that's the good news. I mean, if you don't charge, then nobody can make money with something free. So, and Tesla is there. They were not there at the beginning. Now they realize that if they don't charge, with the number of cars that are there, they will lose money for a long time. So it's evolving in the right direction. And we have a big team in EV. In Europe and here in North America, so learning. And not many countries are able to supply the electricity that it takes for a big percentage of the fleet.
Right.
So Quebec can do that because of the Hydro-Quebec and the hydro supply we have, and Norway. Other than that, it's all about new electricity, new grid that needs to be installed. Will that come from windmill, from solar,
exactly.
from coke, or from nuclear? So there is not that many sources of electricity out there. There is a gas, obviously. We see the story in Europe right now. So I think the electrification will be delayed with the war of Ukraine, with the cost of the electric car that is going to the roof. Not just the fuel is going up.
Right.
The lithium battery, I mean, has tripled.
That's right.
It's so different right now with the supply of product. I mean, we don't know where we are heading, but it will settle. It will come back. It will take time.
That's
It will
right.
take at least a year and a half to get a sort of a supply looking like 2019.
Right.
But maybe I'm too optimistic with 18 months. Maybe it will take more time than that. So it's there to stay for some time. And what we don't know is how labor will adapt to this.
Right.
I mean, we have a very hard time to find drivers, to find engineers, to find accountants, to find people to work in our stores. And it's not just us. It's not about the paycheck. It's about the availability of workers. The pandemic have created a lot of new retirees. Just take 2-3% adjustment upstream,
Right.
that
All of a sudden.
downstream you don't have the supply. So it will take time. It won't be resolved. 18 months, I think I'm optimistic.
So I always like to say that, government regulation impacts us in so many ways. It sometimes prevents certain products from being sold. One of the biggest growing categories in our channel, just based on sales in Quebec, is beer and wine. And your stores in Ontario or in other parts of the country can't sell it. So again, it must be frustrating for you, but how important is it for us to continue to advocate to be able to sell those products?
It's frustrating for sure, and I just don't get it. I mean, that's so part of the past.
Right.
It has to evolve.
Yeah.
It was like that in the U.S. 20 years ago.
That's right.
Dry county, dry states, and no, it's all open.
Yeah.
Look at Colorado. They have changed the rule 2-3 years ago, and they were the last state, I think. In Canada, I mean, we are a country of the past. We have to evolve there. So we need a very strong association to help us to do our representation and meet with the government to take the right decision on beer and wine. Hard alcohol, we sell hard alcohol in the U.S. Gosh, they think we're not able to manage or what? We manage tobacco, we manage lotteries. I mean, all controlled product, we are the best to manage that.
That's
and
right.
They resist to changing the rules in these products. They want to keep the power or whatever. I don't know who's lobbying there, but it's time. Convenience stores cannot deliver the message alone. So we need a strong association like CICC. Actually, that's the full point of having an association, strong association that can meet and help us to meet with the government and have these rules to change. We need a change on many things, but certainly on the beer and wine in the country, and on credit cards and all kind of stuff, as you know. So yeah, strong association is a must.
Thank you for that. And I'm gonna get to credit card fees in a moment because I know that that's an issue that's near and dear to your heart, and you've worked on it for a long time, far too long actually. But before we move to that, another issue you talked earlier about what responsible retailers we are, and we have the best track record. You know, at CICC, we developed our own program, responsible retailing program, ID Please, Ta carte s'il te plaît. And it really reinforces the important role that the industry plays in terms of keeping these age-restricted products out of the hands of youth. That's what we do. That's our mantra as an industry. So I'm sure it's so well, we know it's so frustrating when we start to see the rise of, once again, we felt like it was sort of under control. Once again, we're seeing the rise of contraband tobacco. So maybe you can talk just a little bit, offer and share your perspective in terms of how contraband tobacco is impacting your business.
Yeah, that's big. It's very big. Actually, it's in Canada, in U.S., in Europe. It's under control. There is some contraband there too, don't take me wrong, but it's better control there. The government are involved and they take action. Here it's like this market is in the hands of people that the government don't want to touch or don't want to send their police forces or whatever. I don't know. I don't know the rules, but gosh, contraband, it's heading in the same direction we were 20 years ago when there was that big problem with contraband when they changed the rules in '94. So over 30 years, over 20 years, 28 years, almost 30 years ago. And now we're back there. So if we don't act, the business will all be illegal. So contraband, it's illegal. So it's like encouraging organized crime. So
Exactly.
I'm so surprised of no action there, but very little action, I would say.
Yeah, well, I think increasingly governments are hearing the message, and I think you're absolutely right. It's that connection to organized crime. When legal business is taken away from us, right? We sell the legal product, and out on the streets in the communities, you have the illegal product being sold. So I think increasingly governments are starting to hear that message, and we certainly at CICC are spending a lot of time on that because, again, it's so fundamental. It's about whether it's beverage alcohol, whether it's contraband tobacco, whether it's labeling for energy drinks or other beverages. All of those regulatory changes impact the industry. It has a sort of a ripple effect on our ability to sort of survive and thrive. And so the issue, I think, that is one of those very fundamental ones. And again, we've seen it with the increased price of gas. And over the course of COVID, you may recall at the beginning, people thought, oh, well, if I use cash, maybe the COVID is spread by, touching things. So people started using less cash, more credit cards. And so that combination, talk about a perfect storm. So increased use of credit cards, items like the price of gas going up. So of course, credit card fees increased exponentially. And I know that this is something that you've worked on and have helped us advocate on, but it really just doesn't seem to matter whether it's a conservative government, a liberal government. At the federal level, everybody says before they get into office, this is a big priority for us, we understand the impact, we're going to fix it. Now, again, with your experience operating convenience stores in Europe, for example, where credit card fees are capped, maybe share with us, talk a little bit about how important that is for the success of the business.
A lot more civilized in Europe in that aspect. I mean, the European Union understood early that this not make sense to have someone paying for the program put together by others. Like the banks, they put these programs of points about everything, and we pay for it. Wow, what a good formula for a bank. Our oligopoly here in Canada, I mean, they laugh at us. I don't want to say too much because I'm so frustrated with these guys. It's the same in the US. So only these two markets in the world are like this, Canada and US. We paid $900 million US dollars last year in credit card fees. Does it make sense?
No.
Not us. Consumer paid. Our customer, they paid for that. They come, they don't see it, but we charge more. It's the same everywhere.
Right.
In our industry, you buy clothes, you pay for the credit card fees, it's in the price. Everybody does that. You see, they're talking about the fuel. The fuel increased a lot. At our level, we had to take a bit more margin, and everybody did, because we have to cover the credit card fees that are increasing, and people are complaining with reasons. But what's wrong there? It's just so, I'm mad at it. You can feel, you can see it, but it's just the government that can take a decision on that. We cannot take a decision for the consumer. They like to put their card in the fuel dispenser or come at the counter and pay with their card, and we accept it, but we're stuck.
So, I think a good way to sort of kind of wrap this up is kind of coming back to where we started, and talking not only about the role of CICC, but I think the role of convenience stores in various communities. And I think one of the reasons that so many of these regulatory issues are so important is that the survival of convenience stores, particularly in rural communities in this country, and I know you have a number of them, where it is the kind of the local store. And it might be the local store for a family that's on a road trip in Atlantic Canada, and the family of four, next sign for gas is 50 kilometers, and you pull into that station and, now suddenly it's closed because they, credit card fees, regulated gas in Atlantic Canada, inability to sell beer and wine, the rise of contraband tobacco, all of these issues sort of come together, and it impacts their ability to survive. And, we often say to governments, what's it going to take? Are we going to have to see increased closures of these rural convenience stores in order for you to recognize that these are the kinds of issues that impact on the survivability of these stores? So maybe we can just sort of end there, and you could share, and I don't think it's unique to Canada, but certainly we are a big country, geographically speaking. Things are spread out. How important is the role of the convenience store, again, particularly in those rural communities?
We are often the last retail standing. I mean, I've seen that a lot in Canada mainly, and it's all everywhere. I mean, you go in northern Ontario, you try to stay open, but the community is begging us to stay open, but we don't make money anymore because we don't sell all the product we should.
Right.
So the number of people is not enough for a convenience store to stay. So we need the changes in Ontario and elsewhere. We are the last retail available, and I saw that in many areas, whereas we closed and others did. And you said it. You have to do 50 kilometers to have access to a bag of milk or bread or whatever. So it's not what we want. And CICC is very good at helping there, but we need to continue to do representation and make sure we have support from our convenience store community too. Because when you're alone in your store, you don't always see the benefit of the association. So we need to make sure that they understand that together we can win. So that's where the message has to be shared too.
Absolutely. And I think that's, you know, that's exactly what we try and do with events like National Convenience Week, where we invite politicians into the store to kind of work a shift. I mean, really, they're there for 5 minutes, as you know, but I think it, you know, it does offer them a bit of a perspective. So they see that relationship that the store owner and operator has with the community. Sometimes that message is even more effective if we have the operator in that riding saying, you know, Minister so-and-so, this is what's happening in my community.
Fully agree. I mean, the grassroots work has to be at the level of the convenience stores. They are there. They meet these people. They meet the deputy. They meet the politicians in their county, and they can share their concern. But with the support of CICC, it's even better.
Well, listen, I just want to finish things by saying thank you. And I think this is just going to be extraordinarily valuable for the folks that are in attendance at our summit. Like I said before, it's, you know, it's retailers, it's distributors, it's vendor partners, and we all have to work together because we all have a shared interest in ensuring that our channel continues to survive and thrive. So thank you again.
Thank you to you, and I cannot say no to the association. I mean, it's needed, and if we all invest in this, we win. So in the Maritimes, in Ontario, in Quebec, in the West, I mean, all together, we can change the playing field here and win.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.